Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the Sea of Tranquility homework assignment. I'm your host, Rick Labonte, playing musical chairs today. It is Halloween, so this is my costume as a host, and it's definitely going to be a trick and a treat. One, a trick because we're pulling this off at 9 a.m. in the morning with 2 nights of heavy gigging with a Halloween party. You guys seen the movie or the TV show Walking Dead? My band was The Walking Dead, and we were all zombies. I still got nail polish on. Anyway, the tweet is that we got the biggest battle for the Halloween special, Clash of the Titans, especially when you look at their CD collection. We're talking about the CEO of the homework assignment, the founder of the homework assignment, versus the CEO and founder of this YouTube channel, SOT. And no stranger to the SOT world, we have seen these guys all through many different shows, especially this one I'm going to introduce. He's been on the Monster Den. He's been on the Hudson Valley Square, the Proxy, and many. And he brings his prop and his humor, our friend, Jamie Laszlo. And again, we don't need to do any introduction for the man that's been celebrating 20 years of the SOT empire and doing this YouTube channel for quite some time, our friend, Mr. Peter Pardo. Now, you guys know the drill, but just in case we get some newcomers on here, homework assignment, the host never knows what I'm going to hear. We're all hearing this live together. And so we'll get to experience their experience when they talk about the homework assignment. And so how this is done is that they give a little bit of time to listen to the album, and not the challenge in itself. Because if you know anything about my friends here, like myself, we have a massive CD collection. Try to find something we don't have. It's probably, a challenge in itself. Then we got to turn on our friend into something they never heard, or at least a complete album version of this music. And it can be, this channel, it could be hard rock, it could be metal, it could be prog, it could be jazz fusion, anything, but it basically got rock in it mostly. And so what is interesting, this homework assignment been started out with Jamie doing this. And even in the Proxy, before this became a series, we were always sharing this information because we learned so much for the show. How cool is it to have the two guys that came up with this concept go head to head, an amazing face-off. So you guys, I'm going to flip a coin because I'm not giving no favors. You guys both got equal time. So, but Jamie, you're the one that came up with this homework assignment to beat. You get to call the heads or tails.
Heads.
Okay. Heads it is. Go ahead, Jamie. You get to go and talk about your homework assignment given by Pete.
There's no way I can live up to the hype that you just presented here. No way.
That was the greatest intro ever in the history of this show, right?
Yeah, I know.
I'm a fan too, right? I'm not only a cast member.
All right. Well, I was given a album. I think we both got something out of our wheelhouse this time. These are two albums that neither Pete nor me would have ever given a shot ever. So I was given Magnum, a band I knew very little about. I actually heard their 2020 album once last year. I wasn't a big fan of it, but this band has been around since the 70s, and I was listening to an album 50 years later. So I needed to hear something from their prime, I guess. So I was given On a Storyteller's Night. And I know this is an adored album, and I feel bad if I say anything negative about it, because I mean, it's like some schmuck coming on here and saying something negative about Dark Side of the Moon, like some young 20-something. So I hope I don't offend anyone. And look, this is just one album out of how many albums do they have? 20?
Yeah, something like that.
This is one album. I'm going to talk about this one album, 45 minutes or whatever it is. So I guess you call this pump rock, a term that I was not familiar with. I guess in this case, pump could stand for progressive or mildly progressive, because there's progressive tendencies, but I wouldn't call these guys. Look, these guys are closer to John Parr than they are Marillion. Okay, to my ears. And a lot of this album sounds like it could have been on an 80s soundtrack. You know, the kind of movie where you got the young diamond in the rough. He's trying to become the best kickboxer, gymnastic guy, BMX racer, whatever. And he's got the 80s headband on when he's working out most of the time, you know, and I could just see some of these songs being in that movie. Little vision questy. So it starts off with how far Jerusalem. Easy for me to say. Man, I was actually kind of surprised that well, I was worried because it started off a little proggy. I'm like, are these guys going to get more proggy than they should, you know? But they keep the balance all right in that song. It's not bad. So we're off to a decent start here. But what was weird, this was really weird, Pete, and I texted you about this. So I'm listening to this album thinking I would be so down with this if I discovered it in 1985. I'd be driving around in my little 1983 Escort with the cassette playing. I could see it just like I used to do. And I was thinking this with my White Wolf cassette. Now, if I would have listened to this for the first time today, I would think this is total crap, but it's grandfathered in. Some of these albums are just grandfathered into my psyche. Okay. And this has a song on there. And I was thinking I would have been playing it right with my White Wolf. And I dug that song Just Like an Arrow from this album. And the very next song is Just Like an Arrow. When it started, I was like, what the hell? I had all these decades, I didn't know it was a cover. So that was very strange. So now we got a decent song in track one. And we got a song that's kind of cheesy, but grandfathered into my psyche. So here we go. Pretty good
start. Familiar place.
And then we got the title track. It's got mood. It's got 80s mood, but there's mood there. And I found myself yesterday morning waking up and I could not get Keep Your Night Light Burning out of my head. Stuck there all day. And all I could think was, I hope Pete is walking around with AM radio stuck in his head. I swear to God. We'll get to that in a bit. So, yeah, catchy. Before the First Light is next. Now we get very soundtracky. And our little karate kid or BMX or kickboxer guy, let's call him the headband hero because he's always got that sweat headband on when he's working out. This is the montage part of the movie where he's practicing his BMXing. He's falling off. He's about to get up or give up, but he gets back up on the BMX and this song is playing. And then towards the end, you know, after giving up and trying again, he lands perfectly and he goes, yeah, freeze frame, fade out. This song is playing during that scene. Not a bad thing, but very kind of dated. Then you got Los Morts Descent. I'm not sure how you say it. It's slower. It's got nice layered vocals. You know, sometimes with this, look, when I saw the album cover, another logo where it's very shiny. Why do I keep getting these shiny logos handed to me? And a lot of this music shimmers and it's shiny. And sometimes his vocals are very perfect and shiny. Sometimes I wish I could just rough up his vocals a little bit because just to balance it out. So sometimes, yeah, it adds more shimmer on top of shimmer, but it's okay. It's okay. Like I said, it's out of my wheelhouse. Then we come to Endless Love. And these poor guys got to be thinking, what do we got to do to get played on the radio in the US? We are giving you hook after hook after hook. What song do you want to play on the radio? Spin a damn wheel. Whatever title it lands on, play it. It should be a hit. Nothing. I never heard these guys on the radio ever. I kind of feel bad for them.
Yeah.
I was surprised to see that they formed in 1972. So by the time this album came out, I mean, I watched some videos on YouTube, and I was like, this guy has David Coverdale syndrome. You know, David Coverdale was a little bit older than everyone else in the 80s. So then I did my research and saw, formed in 72. Makes sense. But Endless Love is the part of our movie where our headband hero, he's really good now, whatever he's doing. Let's call it BMX racing, even though there was a movie called Rad already made. But now, during this montage, he's spinning the wheel, his handlebars up in the air, he's landing perfectly. He's a pro now. He's ready to go to the big race. And he's got endless love for his craft. Then we go to Two Hearts. This is the part of the movie now during the big race where our headbanded hero, he's racing. My friend is cheering on the sidelines with her 80s big hair. And he's kind of behind. One or two guys is in front of him. And he sees his girlfriend and he gets inspiration seeing her. And he's one guy racing, but they're two hearts in one race. So yeah, and of course he wins. Then we go, of course he wins. It's the 1980s. Then we go to Steal Your Heart, which it's going to be on our sequel. This song's on the sequel to the movie. It's their Burning Heart. You know how it's not as good as the music that they played in the first movie, whatever, you know, Magnum would be doing the music, obviously. And Burning Heart isn't as cool as Eye of the Tiger.
True.
You know, everybody says you got the Eye of the Tiger. Nobody says you got a burning heart. So this is their, all right, we get it. It wasn't a top 10 single, but it made it to number 17. And the movie wasn't that good either. It is a little repetitive though. You know, with the Steal Your Heart chorus, and they're not mixing things up for a while at the end there. So then we go to All England's Eyes. And I'm starting to think at this point, Pete, that I'm ODing on this kind of sugary music. It's kind of like eating cotton candy. All right. Those first couple bites, pretty good. But then as an adult, you're like, you start getting a bellyache if you eat too much. And at this point, I'm probably having a little bit too much of this. I wonder if I would like it better if it was like one of the first 2 or 3 songs. I don't know. But then we come to The Last Dance. This song's in our sequel too. You know, in the first movie, our headbanded hero, he was just a schmuck, and he had to overcome his stubbornness and all that stuff to become the pro. So now he's already the pro. So now we got to give him an injury to overcome. So he has an injury in the beginning of the movie. He may never walk again. And he's thinking of his girlfriend and the last dance that they had. And the last dance is playing in the movie. So what do I think of the album? It's dated. But look, some of the 90s stuff I listen to, I go back and it's very dated too. The thing with music is, it's hard to make timeless music. It's very hard. And sometimes music becomes dated in a bad way. And then if you live long enough, you get to see it become dated in a good way. You know, like proto metal. There was probably a time where proto metal sounded dated in a bad way. But 50 years later, it's kind of dated in a very cool way now. Yeah. Will this ever come around dated in a cool way? I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of people that love it to death right now today. I understand that. But yeah. Now, and first of all, my 76-year-old mother would love this album. She eats this kind of music up. So the 3 questions.
Yes.
Rick, you want to ask 3 questions?
That's right.
Like the 3 seashells.
Well, you know how the door is. You want to buy it? Would you just stream it once in a while, or would you just forget it?
Well, I put this in my... Look, I had fun with this album. I had fun making my little stupid movie. And I put it in my shopping cart on Amazon. I did. And I said, what am I doing? And I deleted it. I was like, you don't have to buy every goddamn thing someone throws at you, Laszlo. You know, I always want the little CD to remember this time together that we had. So when I'm going through my M's, oh, Monster Magnum, oh, Magnum, that was a fun day. But, and then I listened to it again. And I said, you know what? I got to take my dog out. She does not like to poop in my yard for some reason. And I got to walk her a quarter mile down the road to get her to poop. And I need inspiration sometimes to go do that walk, especially in the rain. So I put it back in my shopping cart. I said, you know what? I'm going to be the headband hero. I'm going to put my headphones on. I'm going to go out there, take this dog a poop down the road, and I'm even going to put these on. I'm going to put this on, and I'm going to get inspiration from this album when I'm falling off, quote unquote, my bike and don't feel like moving on. Maybe this will give me the inspiration I need to get that dog to poop.
Right.
One more thing. And this is going to be, this is the surprise ending. So I listened to some other albums a little bit here and there. And it may not be as good, but I saw this in a record store and I picked this up. Now, this is less shiny and shimmery music. It's got flatter production, which kind of helps it in a way. I don't know if it's better, but it's probably something I'll listen to more. And it's just a very good Foreigner album, pretty much is what it sounds like to me. So there you go.
That's a really good one too. That's one of their better ones. Yeah.
Well, we end up getting a double review from one performance.
And there it is.
There you go.
There
It's already ripped into my phone, and I'll be listening to it today when I got to take this damn dog to poop.
Well, that's fantastic. You know what? Jamie's always like, oh, this is going to be a love fest. This is going to be, they end up liking it. I'm glad.
Oh, I was listening to this album in the shower today, and I felt like doing the flash dance underneath the water.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with Magnum is, I mean, they've got a lot of albums, and you hit the nail on the head early on. This is a band that should have been really big here. They're one of these mysterious British bands like Status Quo, like Slade, who just never did any business here, and nobody knows who the hell they are. But their music, you mentioned Foreigner, you could throw out a bunch of bands. I mean, they're just at times saccharine sweet, not quite heavy, little proggy, Bob Catley's, hook-laden vocals all over the place. So many of their albums should have been enormous here because they're just littered with all these kind of ballady, rocky things that just, have hooks to die for, but nobody knows who they are here. So, I mean, on a Storyteller's Night is probably their most beloved album. Yeah, for me, it's one of their best, but they have others that are just about as good as that. And they have others that are a little more, like they've got some concept albums, which are pretty cool. They've got some albums that are a little more rocking than that one. I think that one kind of was the first album where everything really gelled, kind of perfectly. But yeah, I mean, you make some good points. There's some cheese in a lot of their albums, absolutely, for sure. And some of it is really squeaky clean and what have you. So, but they've got so many albums. If you spend some time with both of those and you decide to investigate the catalog even more, they're one of these bands who have been around forever and their recent output is really good and maybe as good, if not better, than some of the earlier stuff. So if you choose to give some of the more recent albums a chance, you might even like those better because, Catley's vocals, now he's older, so he's got a little bit to his voice now, and it's not as kind of squeaky clean. So I don't know, a really good band, I think. I've always liked them, and I wasn't sure if you dig them or not, but I figured, let's take a shot here, you never
Right on. Well, that's what Jamie always wanted, that real risk, cliffhanging kind of chances, and look like you got one. Now, where's that band from?
England?
Yeah, they're from Britain. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. I watched videos, and you know what? Before I watched videos and I was listening to this, I said, I bet you the keyboardist, when I watch this video, is going to be rocking out just a little bit too much. And I was watching. Yeah, he's rocking out a little bit too much to be a keyboard player. I knew it.
Okay, so Pete, now you have the floor.
All right. I don't know how I'm going to follow that one up, but well, so Jamie gave me a band. Jamie, they're a U.S. band or they Canadian band? U.S. band, right?
They are U.S. band.
Yeah. So the band is Everclear, and as soon as he gave me that, I was like, okay, he knows I'm not crazy about '90s music, so it's okay. So I figure, all right, I've honestly, other than like one or two of their hits, I've never listened to this band at all. So I know nothing about Everclear other than a lot of the kids were into these guys back, 15, 20 years ago, 25 years ago. So the album was Songs from an American Movie Part 2, Good Time for a Bad Attitude, if that isn't one of the longest.
Oh, I gave you part 2. I meant to give you I said part 1.
No,
I give you part 2.
You gave me part 2. You said originally you wanted me to do part 1, but then take part 2. So I was like, yep. So part 2 is the one.
Then scratch that AM radio thing right out of my whoops. I gave you the lesser of the 2 albums. Boy, you're gonna really hate this.
Well, then you're gonna get exactly what you've been waiting for here on this show. So this came out in 2000, right? So yeah, so this is, I guess, part of a 2-part. The first part was Learning How to Smile in 2000. This is part 2.
Yeah, that's a good
came
album.
out the same year. Art Alakakis, whatever the hell he says his name, on guitars and vocals, Craig Montoya on bass, and Greg Eklund on drums. So again, I don't know jack shit about this band other than the fact that a lot of kids were listening to them back in the day. So I was like, all right, whatever. So I play this one. We got a lot of songs on here. Geez, what do we got? 12 songs. That's not that bad. The first song is When It All Goes Wrong Again. And right off the bat, I'm like, all right, this band's got a lot of energy. The riffs are kind of heavy. I kind of like the guitar riffs on this song. It's got plenty of groove. I'm like, yeah, I can kind of see why this band was pretty popular. And then he starts singing, and I'm like, all right, there's a Kurt Cobain thing going on here, and I'm like, not digging that. I don't mind the song though. It's, like I said, it's good. It's kind of snappy, rocking, kind of heavy. It's a good metallic thing going on with the riffs. Not too bad. Not terrible song. Second song is called Slide. Again, I'm liking the guitar riffs on here. Pretty good. Chorus is pretty heavy.
This is the heavier album of the 2 volumes.
Yeah. No, there's some heavy stuff on here. So chorus is kind of heavy. The vocals on the verse have this kind of whiny thing going on for me. A lot of the qualities, especially vocally, I found throughout this whole album, is what I didn't like about a lot of 90s and early 2000s music. But it's heavy in spots. And I think throughout this album, this band goes from these kind of heavy, it's not metal, but these big, hard rocking metallic guitar sections. And then they kind of dial it back, and they're going for this kind of fun, poppy, punky thing. And as most folks know, watch this channel, I detest that. So I was really torn with this album because they kind of do a lot of both all the time, and it was driving me nuts a little bit. Baby Talk is the third song. White guy rapping hard rock, no thank you. Hated that song.
Yeah, that's not a good song.
Oh, hated it. So skip that one. Rockstar is next. 90s wannabe punk meets garage rock, trying to be cutesy poppy, terrible. Hated Rockstar. I saw the title and I was like, okay, cool. This is probably going to be fun. No, didn't like that at all. Next up, Short Blonde Hair. Catchy hook. It's kind of like light alternative radio rock with a little pop flair. That was okay. That was kind of decent for what it was. I mean, I didn't hate it. I didn't love it. It was okay. Misery Whip, however, great song. Raunchy, kind of Aerosmith feel to it. This by far was my favorite song on the album. These kind of jangly guitars all over the place, a lot of attitude, a lot of piss and vinegar. The vocals were on this song great. And I'm like, why does this guy sing like this on the whole album? Easily my favorite song on the album. I would listen to more of this type of thing from these guys in a heartbeat. Out of My Depth, song number 7, kind of rootsy. It's kind of rootsy in a weird way. I don't know. I couldn't think of another word, but it's got these anthemic parts to it. The vocals are really squeaky clean, which kind of bothered me a little bit, but musically the song kind of works. It's got a good hook to it. I didn't mind it too much, but it's a little bit different. One of the bits of variety on this album, which I kind of liked. Good Witch of the North. Love the title. But it's kind of like the short pop rock track, just didn't hold my attention. I was like, got a great title, but the song just didn't do anything for me. Halloween Americana, perfect song for today, right? It's Halloween, Halloween Americana, and it's an instrumental. All right, shows they got some musical chops, nice guitar work. I loved it. I was like, man, more of this. These guys can play, right? Track number 10, All Fucked Up. Sorry, I don't like that wannabe punk crap. I just, man, and that's exactly what this is. No, thank you. To me, you have a title like that, and it just screams to me like juvenile wannabe something or other, and I didn't dig it at all. Number 11, Overwhelming, kind of angsty rock. I don't even know what to call it. I don't know. I like the anthemic riffing on here. It's got a good drive to it. Vocals are decent. I enjoy the chorus. Not a bad song. Not bad. And then the last track, Song from an American Movie, okay, which goes back to the title of the album. Kind of boring, kind of blah, like mellow alternative rock, something that you would hear on the radio back in the day. Nice hook on the chorus, though. It's a pleasing enough song. Not something I would normally listen to. So that makes up the album. So I got a little summary here. So I basically can see why a lot of people enjoyed this type of stuff back in like the late 90s, early 2000s. There's a commercial appeal to it that I think follows along with a lot of the other popular bands, like Green Day and Nirvana and a lot of, Stone Temple Pilots. It's got that kind of feel. It's like made for the radio. It's made to be played live where everybody's dancing and getting along to it. But for me, it exemplifies everything I hated about a lot of popular music around this time period. These guys have talent. I mean, there are songs on here where I'm like, wow, these guys can really play. They know how to write a catchy hook, but they just don't seem to know if they want to be a rock band, a pop band, or a punk band. And I guess my opinion of a lot of the bands this time period is I felt that about a lot of groups. It's like, I think this was just a weird time in music where you had all of these influences from previous decades coming in, and people and bands wanting to do, well, we love the punk scene, so we wanted to be a punk band, but you got to have some pop hooks in your music because that's what sells. Oh, but heavy metal was really popular 10 years ago, and now new metal is popular, so we got to have some thump and heft to our music. But to me, a lot of this album, and Jamie, I apologize if you intended to give me the first one. I don't know what the first one sounds like. I didn't go and listen to it.
I'm looking at my text. I said volume 1.
Did you? Well, that's my screw up. Well, sorry about that.
That's all right.
I could have sworn you said, because I looked at both. I'm like, hey, he said part 2. So anyway, to me, this is kind of bland, faceless, post-grunge alternative to my ears. And other than like maybe 3 tracks, didn't really enjoy this one at all.
Oh, I think we know what your answer
Oh. You can go back to that question.
He's going to forget it by noon
once
today.
in a blue.
I won't be buying
Forget it.
I've already streamed it and listened to it 3 times.
Wow, 3
I'm going to forget this one. Yeah, sorry, Jamie. But I will, in your honor, I'm going to go listen to part 1, and I will let you know what I think of that.
Yes, because the songs are better on part 1. It's more laid back. It's part 2 is supposed to be the angry album. Part 1 is supposed to be the more cheerful album.
Gotcha. I don't mind angry. I didn't find most of this album angry.
Yeah, I don't mind angry either, but the songs aren't as good as part 1.
I think there's stuff on this album that if I heard more of what I liked, I would have been fine with this album. And I honestly would have been, pleasantly surprised, because I normally hate stuff like this. And I hated a lot of this album, but there were moments where I'm like, man, if they do more of this type of thing, I'm on board. So I will listen to part 1. And,
songs.
What's that?
4 songs on part 1. AM Radio, their cover of Brown Eyed Girl, which you're like, I don't want to hear that song ever again. They make it their own, sounds like a different song. Unemployed Boyfriend, which is genius, and Wonderful, which is one of my favorite songs of the last 20 years. So there you go.
Okay. So there you have it, folks. 2 guys, Clash of the Titan, and we did have a battle here, and there's been some winners and losers. even got to use a different weapon to for the face off.
It's just funny.
Anyway,
We have our first forgetting, yet I totally listened to the wrong album. So there you go.
You forget the first one too, Pete. Don't worry.
See, that's the only dangerous part about the host not knowing what the assignments are. One, I can't help make sure everybody's in check. Two, this an album can be repeated again. In this series, you just don't know what people gave if they don't follow it from the very beginning like we do. So anyway, anything you want to plug in, Jamie? Anything from your guest appearances out in the YouTube world?
I'll be on Contrarians today. She get posted.
Okay.
Me talking about Van Halen with Martin Popoff. Me talking about Van Halen, some schmuck with a guy who wrote 2 books on Van Halen.
Okay, and you're gonna wear the bands on there, get the 80s theme going on?
It's already in the can. It's recorded. So
okay.
And
okay,
Pete,
Richard.
nice to see you in the shirt I got you.
That's right.
Oh, nice.
Yep, exactly.
Cool. I'm still wearing the frog seat.
So,
Pete, what you got coming up this week?
Let's see. We got Hudson Valley Squares tomorrow. We've got in the Proxy Tuesday, Wednesday. I have so many new things to review and listen to. We've got let's see. We got the new Tremonti, the new Santana, the new Pat Metheny. We got new Gus G. We've got new Between the Buried and Me. We've got new Fernando Perdomo project with Carmine Apiece. I mean, man, there's so new Marillion box set, Fugazi. There's just so much stuff. I'm busy listening to. All right, so everybody's gonna love this announcement. I am busy listening to the catalog of the Cult, so Mr. Laszlo and I can do a show coming up in the coming weeks. So I need a little.
Does Laszlo want to join us?
I would assume so. I totally forgot to talk to him about it yesterday, but I would assume so. I just, I think, now that I'm involved in doing this ranking show, I think that'll be the kind of kick we need in the right direction to get this going. So I used to own a lot of those early Cult albums on LP or cassette back in the day, and I never bought them on CD. So I've ordered a bunch of them. They've been coming in. So, I'm listening to stuff and,
right on.
Got a couple in the car, and there's a few more coming in. So yeah, that's coming up. So Wednesday is going to be a bunch of reviews. Got new Lords of Black as well. So a lot of cool stuff that I'm trying to listen to and get a handle on so we can do review shows. Thursday, the Monsters Den. So Thursday, Chris and I think Rich is coming on Thursday. We're going to give a recap of Chiller Theater, and Chris and I are going to give a preview of the 24-hour horathon that we're going to. And then Friday, Martin Popoff and I are doing part 2 of our most ridiculed songs by classic bands that we did the other day. And then we've got homework assignment next week. So next week we have Chuck Alvarez going up against Chris Canzaneri. So that's happening a week from today. So everybody needs to look out for that. So
good, because people are probably sick of me being on here.
We got a bunch of these lined up. I mean, there's a whole bunch of matchups that are in the process, but we got into some scheduling stuff. So that always happens. You can't, people are busy, and so there are other matchups that are happening that are in the works. But we just like Chris Allo and Rich Catino are going to go at it soon. Simon Bray and Stephen Reed are doing a rematch, so that's happening. I think this week or next week. I'm not sure. I talked to them both later this week. So we got that coming up. And so there's a lot of things in the works. Jamie, you and Louis Nassar are going to be going at it soon. Rick, we got to get you back on with someone else soon. So I think a lot of people I want to match up with, and so there's a lot in the works there. So Oh, and also starting tomorrow, 30 days of November, 30 of the most important heavy albums of all time. So that's starting tomorrow. So we're going to go back in time and move forward throughout the month and look at some of those 30 albums that have meant so much to the formation of what we know as hard rock and heavy metal. So that's coming up, one album each day throughout the month of November. Quick little 5-minute videos each day just to talk about some of those important heavy albums that helped shape heavy album
right on
history. So yeah. So.
A nice history, little part of every day episode. That'd be great.
He'll exclude Nevermind, though, even though it should be in there.
Don't know that.
And that's another thing. You never know what's coming from day to day. That's another suspense about the channel. So there you have it, folks. You can check out the website at www.seaquanquility.org, and also come on YouTube, because we're on the YouTube all the
damn time.
You got it. And we got a whole week and more coming on this channel of information. Just put on your seatbelt and go for the
Put on
ride.
your headband.
Oh, and the headband. Take care, everybody, and happy Halloween.
Bye-bye, everybody. Take care.